Hello, everybody. Heaven and hell. Life and death after death. Don't you just hate it when somebody will make a 15-minute video and it takes them 10 minutes before they get to the main point of their video and what they wanted to say? I hate that. So I'm going to tell you right now, there is no hell. And I can say that because it doesn't make sense. It's just not reasonable. And we know we live in a reasonable universe because without reason, there could be no math and no science. Hell makes no sense. That a all-loving and all-wise God, God the Mother, God the Father, would create imperfect beings and then sentence them to eternal torment for being imperfect. No, not reasonable. Hell doesn't exist. But what about the flip side of that? What about heaven? Well, before I get there, let me remind you that in those first couple of videos I made, I did this unintentionally. I didn't know what I was doing at the time. But I established that all of reality is made of relationships. All of our visible universe, these are the galaxies that we can see. Right? Have you been following the James Webb Telescope? It's just amazing what that thing is finding. All the galaxies, these are galaxies. And they all have planets on them. All these planets here, that's our planet right there. They all have planets. And they're all run by relationships. They're all run by mathematical relationships. All of the material universe where our little character is walking here, walking and running and jumping and raising kids and having a job and worrying about paying taxes, all of this is run by mathematical relationships. Pi, the relationship for an ellipse is here. All of the motion equations, time and distance equals speed, right? Those are all mathematical relationships. And I got to thinking, well, if the material universe is run by mathematical relationships, what about something in the invisible universe? And at the time I called it non-material reality. Since then I may have been calling it the invisible. You might want to call it the spiritual. That's all fine. But I think there is more to the invisible than just spirit. We often refer to spirit as being also personal. And in the invisible universe, I think this is where mathematics exists. Math. Not what we build out of math, but this is where mathematics exists. And then I started thinking, is this also where values exist? Values like kindness and gratitude exist, and compassion and respect. Those values, do they exist here? Okay, so relationships, mathematical relationships, build material reality. If anything that's real is a relationship. Does that mean that to be real in the personal part of the universe, it has to be in a relationship? Values. If you look up values on the internet, you'll get lists, and the list will be titled good values or bad values, perhaps positive values and negative values. I've started to think of them instead as values of relationship and values of isolation. As we take in more and more values of relationship here, not into our heads so much. Most people think of our soul as residing in our heart. So I'll put one here. Now we know that's not literally true, but we know that there's an essence to ourselves that is more than just our thinking. There is an essence, and we might call that soul. I don't know what else. You call it whatever you want. But as we take in these realities into our essence, we become, that makes us part of that. We become more compassionate. We become more real. As we take in gratitude into ourselves, we become more grateful, and we become more real and more permanent. That's what I'm currently thinking. So this is a gradual process, and it's a process that we start right now. We don't wait until after we die. So what about the flip side of that? If becoming more real and becoming more personal, permanent, is the process of taking in those values of relationship, because in order to be real, it's going to be a relationship. What about the values of isolation, of hatred and greed and deceit and arrogance and selfishness? What about making that decision of, no, I want to cut off my relationship because I'm greedy and I don't want to share anything with you. No, I'm going to cut off this relationship because I'm selfish. No, I'm going to cut off, and we cut off relationships with personality after personality after personality until finally there's only one relationship to cut off, and we cut that one out of our arrogance or our hatred, and we say, I don't want to associate with you. It seems to me that if taking in taking in values of relationship make us more real, then taking in values of isolation that cut us off from relationships make us less real. And when you take that out to its natural end, less real and less real and less real, you finally become not real. So while there is no hell, there is non-reality and being not real anymore. So then we get to judgment. And I don't think God the Father or God the Mother judges us. They can't. They're our parents. They're our father and mother. They can't. Parents can't judge. They love their children too much. They're too biased. They're too full of mercy. They're too willing to see only the good in their kids. They can't judge. So that job is delegated out to someone, some personality that they have created just for that job, and they have given those personalities all the perfect tools that they need to be perfect judges. They've given those personalities all the wisdom that they need, all the knowledge that they need, all the mercy that they need to be good judges. But I don't think they're judges. I think they are more observers and declarers. You see, we're not talking about judging jam at the county fair. It's not that kind of thing. They observe. They observe all the personalities in the universe. And look at that one. They're getting so bright, and they're getting so large, and they're becoming more and more real. Oh, look at that one. He's getting dimmer. And through the ages, they make more selfish, more decisions on values of isolation, and they take in more of that isolation. They make more and more of those decisions, and oh, they're getting even dimmer until finally there is nothing there for the judges to see anymore, because that personality has become not. And the observers say, there used to be a personality here, but they have decided to not be part of the whole big picture. They've decided to not be in a relationship with anything here, and so they simply aren't. And that's when they have observed, and now they declare to the universe. Everybody remember that personality that was here? Well, they are not anymore. Now, sometimes when I get to thinking too much about this and I get all mixed up about any of these topics, and I think to myself, holy cow, what is so complicated? And I come back And I remember that, you know, being real, becoming more and more real is actually pretty easy. All you have to do is be nice. It's not about consciously taking in all the values and all the relationship things. Just be nice. Just desire the best for every person you pass in the grocery store. And that helps us. We take in those values, and we take in niceness and compassion and manners and politeness, and that becomes part of us. And we realize that we are actually taking in spiritual realities, and we are starting to live a spiritual life. And we realize that we are a spiritual being, little babies, having a material experience. When this experience that we're having is over, we'll be there. We'll be there already. We do not cross over to something. In a sense, we are already there, not our bodies. I don't know what we'll have for bodies up there. I have not got a clue. I haven't been there yet. And I don't think there's a clear line between there and here. There might be, but what do I know about stuff? I don't think there is. I think they may well be very interwoven. I don't really know. I only drew that line to demonstrate to you that there are different places. Now, there is one caveat to this, and that is that some of you might say, well, Bob, these doing good things, that sure sounds like Catholicism in the 1500s that Martin Luther said, no, 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 we are not saved by deeds. We are not saved by what we do. We are saved by God's grace and his mercy and his love. And I would say you're right. We are not saved by what we do. I also, you can tell I disagree with Martin Luther a little bit. I think we are saved by something else, and that's coming here. After I had written this whole script, a story came to my mind. It was a story that Jesus told. There was a village, and a very rich man all of a sudden got concerned that, oh my word, I want to be able to go into the afterlife. And so he started doing lots of things. He would go out and he would give some money to the poor, alms to the poor, right? And he would buy some food for a widow with 5 kids, and he built a house for somebody else. He was doing all these things. And he gave some money to the temple and the synagogue and the rabbi school. And he said, oh, look at me, I'm doing all these good things. I'm going to get into heaven now because I'm doing things. And Jesus also related how there was a beggar woman who had no money to do anything. All she could do was sit at the village gate and beg for crumbs of food. And when she did get some crumbs of food, she was always very grateful. That's who she was. She was not bitter, she was grateful. That was in her heart. And Jesus recited how that woman, that beggar woman who has nothing to give but gratitude, is living more in the spiritual world than the rich man. Because you see, the rich man was doing deeds. The beggar woman was being grateful. And that's what that's the point I'm trying to make here. Is that it's not about what we do, it's about what we are. It's about what we be. We should be compassionate, and the deeds will ooze out of us unconsciously. We should be respectful. That should be who we are. And the respect will just flow out of us unconsciously. So, what have we got? We've got that there is no hell, don't worry about it. That we grow ourselves into heaven, if you would like to call it that, into the invisible part, into the spiritual part. Is that we're not really conscious of doing things so much as we want to be something. And we want to, and it reaps rewards. We're not doing this just so that we can have a future reward and go to heaven. It also brings joy in our lives. And joy reduces family squabbles. It reduces anxiety, and anxiety reduces our blood pressure. These are all just good things to do for ourselves and for our fellow people. And it's the way we gently move I don't really think about death so much. That's so final. I think of more of it as a transference from one to the other, because we're already living there, in a sense. See you next time.